As a seasoned trucker, I thought I had seen it all on the open road. Late-night drives were routine, and I prided myself on my ability to navigate the highways with ease. But one fateful night, everything changed. I was hauling my cargo through a desolate stretch of highway, the darkness enveloping the world around me. The only source of light came from the beams of my headlights, piercing through the night like a lifeline. That's when it happened, the first hint that something was amiss. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a vehicle in my rearview mirror, its headlights piercing through the veil of darkness. But as I glanced again, the vehicle vanished, leaving me questioning my tired eyes. I dismissed it as a trick of the mind, attributing it to the long hours spent on the road. But the bizarre occurrences didn't stop there. As I continued my journey, more phantom vehicles appeared and disappeared in my mirrors, their presence both haunting and fleeting. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, and a chill settled deep within my bones. As the night wore on, the paranormal activity on the road intensified. I glimpsed shadowy figures darting across the highway, their forms ethereal and indistinguishable. Panic welled up within me, but I knew that stopping was not an option. I had to keep moving. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as a sense of foreboding engulfed me. The road seemed to stretch endlessly, the landscape shifting and warping as if I had entered a different dimension. Was I trapped in some twisted parallel world, a nightmarish realm hidden from the eyes of the living? I glanced at my GPS, desperately seeking confirmation that I was still on the right path. But the screen flickered and distorted, displaying an unrecognizable map that offered no solace. It seemed as though even technology had abandoned me in this strange and terrifying ordeal. In the midst of this otherworldly nightmare, I noticed a figure standing at the side of the road. My heart skipped a beat as I realized it was a hitchhiker, their forms silhouetted against the darkness. Despite my instincts screaming at me to drive past, something compelled me to stop. As the hitchhiker climbed into my truck, a shiver ran down my spine. Their presence felt heavy, their eyes empty and devoid of life. They muttered something unintelligible, their voice a hollow echo in the silence of the cabin. Fear coursed through my veins, but I dared not show it. The hitchhiker directed me to turn onto a side road, their directions leading me further into the unknown. Desperation consumed me, urging me to break free from this nightmarish grasp. But I was trapped, confined within the walls of my truck, at the mercy of forces beyond my comprehension. Minutes turned into hours as the eerie journey continued. The road twisted and turned, its path leading deeper into a realm where logic and reason held no sway. The hitchhiker's presence loomed over me, their intentions unknown, but undoubtedly malevolent. My mind raced with questions, my thoughts consumed by the nature of this nightmarish realm. Was I a pawn in some otherworldly game, a mere plaything for forces beyond my understanding? The weight of uncertainty pressed upon me, threatening to crush my sanity. Suddenly, the hitchhiker spoke with a voice that sent chills down my spine. They warned me of the impending danger that awaited me at the end of this journey, urging me to turn back while I still had the chance. But turning back was no longer an option. I had ventured too far into this twisted maze. With a heavy heart, I pressed on, the road narrowing and winding with each passing mile. The air grew thick with an otherworldly energy, suffocating and oppressive. I could feel the presence of something ancient and sinister lurking just beyond my reach, its hunger for my soul palpable. As I neared the climax of this harrowing ordeal, a blinding light engulfed the road ahead. It was a beacon of hope, a sign that escape was within my grasp. I accelerated towards it, my heart pounding in my chest. The light grew brighter, illuminating the surrounding darkness with a blinding intensity. In a final surge of determination, I burst through the veil of light, emerging on a familiar stretch of highway. The paranormal occurrences ceased, as if the forces that had tormented me had lost their grip. I continued my journey, my mind swirling with unanswered questions. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the memories of that night remained etched in my consciousness. I retired from trucking, vowing never to speak of the horrors I had experienced. The road had forever changed me, leaving me with a lingering unease and a newfound respect for the unseen forces that exist in the shadows. To this day, I wonder if I had truly stumbled upon a parallel dimension, a realm where the boundaries of our reality blurred. Or perhaps it was a manifestation of my own fears and insecurities, projected onto the canvas of the dark and desolate road. Regardless, I carry the weight of that night with me, a constant reminder that the world is not always as it seems, and that there are realms beyond our comprehension lurking just beyond the veil of our perception. The road holds secrets, and not all who traverse its path emerge unscathed. Let's hop onto story number 2, but before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. It was a cold and desolate night as I embarked on yet another late-night delivery. The weight of exhaustion clung to my weary bones, and the empty road stretched out before me like an endless abyss. The only companions I had were the hum of the engine and the haunting silence of the night. As I maneuvered my truck through the winding backroads, the darkness seemed to consume everything around me. The only source of light was the beam of my headlights, cutting through the inky blackness. It was in this surreal setting that I first encountered the hitchhiker. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing on the side of the road. A chill ran down my spine as I realized it was a person, their form barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. Without hesitation, I pulled over, compelled by a sense of duty and curiosity. The hitchhiker was a woman, clad in tattered clothes that barely shielded her from the biting cold. Her disheveled hair and pale complexion added to her eerie appearance. With a trembling voice, she asked if I could give her a ride to the nearest town, claiming her car had broken down. Feeling a mix of sympathy and unease, I hesitated for a moment before unlocking the passenger door. She climbed in, offering a polite smile that sent shivers down my spine. The truck rumbled back to life, and we continued our journey through the desolate night. As the miles passed, an uncomfortable silence settled between us. I stole glances at the hitchhiker, sensing a peculiar energy emanating from her. Her eyes, despite their gentle appearance, held an otherworldly depth, an unspoken secret that danced in the shadows. My mind raced with questions, but I dared not disturb the silence. The road ahead seemed to stretch on indefinitely, each mile carrying us deeper into the heart of the unknown. The hitchhiker remained calm and composed, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. Minutes turned into hours, and a heavy fog began to envelop the surroundings. It clung to the landscape like a ghostly shroud, distorting the familiar landmarks. My unease grew with every passing minute, a gnawing feeling that something was dreadfully wrong. And then, without warning, the hitchhiker vanished. I nearly swerved off the road in shock, my heart pounding in my chest. One moment, she was sitting beside me, and the next, she was simply gone. There were no traces of her presence, no open door or misplaced belongings. She had vanished into thin air, leaving me alone in the truck. A suffocating silence settled within the cab of the truck, broken only by the sound of my own racing heartbeat. Panic swelled within me as I struggled to comprehend what had just occurred. I desperately searched the surroundings, hoping for any sign of the mysterious hitchhiker, but there was nothing, only the desolate road and the oppressive fog. Fear clutched at my throat, making it difficult to breathe. Every shadow seemed to hold a lurking presence, and the once familiar road now appeared foreign and sinister. I knew I had to escape this nightmarish scenario, but my body felt frozen, trapped within the confines of the truck. In a final desperate attempt to gather my wits, I focused on the road ahead. As I accelerated, the fog thickened, making it increasingly difficult to see. Shapes and shadows danced at the periphery of my vision, taunting me with their ethereal presence. I knew I had to escape this realm of the supernatural, to find my way back to reality. With every ounce of determination I possessed, I pressed on, my foot heavy on the accelerator. The truck barreled through the mist, the world outside becoming a blur of uncertainty. And then, as suddenly as it had descended upon me, the fog lifted. I found myself on the outskirts of a small town, the comforting glow of streetlights guiding me back to civilization. As the night's horrors slowly faded into the distance, I heaved a sigh of relief. The hitchhiker's enigmatic disappearance would forever remain a mystery, an eerie encounter etched in the depths of my memory. From that day forward, I became more cautious, wary of the darkness that conceals the unknown. I never again picked up a hitchhiker, knowing all too well the haunting consequences that could accompany such an act of kindness. As I reflect on that fateful night, I can't help but wonder what would have happened had I not escaped the clutches of that vanishing hitchhiker. Would I have become lost in an eternal realm of shadows? Would I have become another ghostly presence haunting that desolate road? But such questions, though they haunt my thoughts, will remain unanswered. I have decided to retire from the life of a trucker, seeking solace in a quiet existence far from the realms of the supernatural. Yet, the memory of that eerie encounter will forever remind me of the thin veil that separates our world from the unknown, and the importance of heeding the warnings that whisper through the night. It was a dark and stormy night as I navigated my truck through the treacherous roads of an unfamiliar forest. The dense canopy of towering trees loomed overhead, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance with malice. Rain pounded against the windshield, distorting my view and adding to the sense of isolation that enveloped me. Relying on my GPS to guide me through the labyrinth of roads, I trusted its electronic voice to lead me to my destination. But as the storm intensified, my GPS screen flickered and then went blank, leaving me stranded in a sea of darkness. Panic surged within me, but I knew I had to remain calm. With no other option, I continued driving deeper into the forest, hoping to find a familiar landmark or a sign of civilization. The only sounds were the relentless drumming of rain and the rumbling engine of my truck. It was in this state of isolation and vulnerability that I stumbled upon something that would change my life forever. Through the sheets of rain, I caught a glimpse of flickering lights in the distance. A glimmer of hope ignited within me as I approached what seemed to be a remote settlement. My heart leaped with relief as I spotted a group of figures huddled together near a small cabin, seeking shelter from the storm. I cautiously pulled my truck to a stop, wary of the unfamiliar surroundings. As I rolled down my window, the sound of rain was momentarily eclipsed by a distant chant. It sent shivers down my spine, but I brushed it off as a trick of the wind. The figures turned towards me, their eyes gleaming with an eerie intensity. A chill ran down my spine as I noticed the strange symbols etched into their clothes and the ominous air that surrounded them. Their welcoming smiles felt forced, their movements unnatural. With a voice that seemed to carry a hint of malevolence, one of them spoke, inviting me to join their community, promising sanctuary from the storm. Alarm bells rang in my mind, warning me of the danger that lurked beneath their seemingly benevolent facade. Instinct told me to flee, but I was trapped in my truck, at their mercy. As the rain pounded against my truck, I desperately tried to start the engine, only to be met with silence. Panic surged through my veins as I realized the extent of their control. I was a captive, a helpless pawn in their sinister game. The cult members surrounded my truck, their chants growing louder and more fervent. Their eyes burned with a fanatical intensity, and I could sense the malevolent energy that radiated from them. I knew then that they wanted more than just my participation, they desired my life as a sacrifice. I watched in horror as they began to form a circle around my truck, their voices rising to a crescendo. Shadows danced in the flickering light, twisting and contorting like serpents in the night. Fear gripped me, squeezing my chest with an iron grip, making it difficult to breathe. In a last-ditch effort to save myself, I frantically searched for any means of escape within the confines of my truck. My hands trembled as I grasped a heavy flashlight, ready to defend myself against the impending darkness that threatened to consume me. With a surge of adrenaline, I swung open the door, brandishing the flashlight as a feeble weapon. The cult members faltered for a moment, their eyes widening in surprise. Seizing the opportunity, I sprinted through their ranks, their grasping hands missing me by mere inches. I ran blindly through the rain-soaked forest, guided only by instinct and a desperate will to survive. Behind me, I could hear the shouts and cries of the cult members as they pursued me. Their fanaticism fueled their pursuit, urging them to reclaim their lost sacrifice. I stumbled upon a narrow trail that seemed to offer an escape from the clutches of the cult. It was an arduous journey, fraught with unseen obstacles and treacherous terrain. But with every step, I could sense the distance between me and the haunting echoes of their chants growing. After what felt like an eternity, I burst through the dense foliage, finding myself on the edge of a highway. Relief washed over me as passing headlights illuminated the darkness, banishing the shadows that had threatened to engulf me. I flagged down a passing truck, its driver offering me a lifeline to safety. As I sat in the passenger seat, soaked and trembling, I glanced back at the forest one final time. The cult's figures were mere silhouettes against the distant trees, their malevolent presence etched into my memory. From that day forward, I vowed never to speak of the horrors I had witnessed. I retired from my life as a trucker, seeking solace in the comforting embrace of anonymity. But the memories of that night will forever haunt my dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that exists within the hidden corners of our world. It was a moonless night as I navigated my truck through the desolate stretches of the interstate. The only companion I had was the hum of the engine and the glow of the dashboard. The road seemed endless, and fatigue slowly started to creep into my bones. As the hours ticked by, I noticed something unsettling. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught glimpses of figures standing on the side of the road. They appeared suddenly, like specters emerging from the darkness, their pale forms illuminated by my headlights. Their hollow eyes bore into my soul, and an eerie chill ran down my spine. I blinked, thinking it was just a trick of my tired mind. But the apparitions persisted, appearing more frequently with each passing mile. They were all too real to ignore. I saw them in tattered clothes, bloodied and broken, frozen in expressions of pain and anguish. My heart raced, and I tried to rationalize what I was seeing. Perhaps it was exhaustion playing tricks on me, or maybe it was the remnants of some past accident haunting this stretch of road. But deep down, I knew there was something more sinister at play. The haunting apparitions continued to manifest on the roadside, their presence growing more vivid and terrifying. Their ethereal forms beckoned me, their silent pleas for help echoing in my mind. I couldn't escape the feeling that they were trapped souls, unable to find peace in the afterlife. Doubt and fear gnawed at me, casting a shadow over my every decision. I questioned my sanity, wondering if the long hours on the road had finally taken their toll. But every time I tried to ignore the visions, they grew more insistent, more demanding of my attention. The faces of the victims haunted my dreams. Their cries for help echoed through my restless nights, leaving me in a state of perpetual terror. Sleep became my enemy, and the road, my only solace. But even then, I couldn't escape the presence of the apparitions that lingered on the periphery of my vision. Desperation consumed me as I sought answers. I researched the history of the highway, scouring news articles and police reports for any mention of accidents or tragedies that could explain the presence of these haunting figures. And then I found it, a horrific pileup that had occurred years ago, claiming the lives of countless innocent victims. Armed with this knowledge, I confronted the apparitions, pleading for them to find peace and release me from their torment. But my attempts were in vain. They continued to haunt my every journey, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the horrors that lie in the shadows. As the miles passed, I made a decision. I couldn't bear the weight of their suffering any longer. With a heavy heart, I vowed to change my path, to leave behind the highway that held me captive to these tortured souls. I resigned from my trucking career, seeking a different life far away from the ghostly remnants of that dark road. In the end, I never discovered the true nature of the apparitions or the reason behind their haunting. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, forever lingering in the realm of the unknown. But the scars they left on my soul are a constant reminder of the terror I endured. Now, as I look back on those days, I shudder at the memories. The apparitions continue to haunt my dreams, a relentless reminder of the horrors that exist beyond our understanding. The road may have released me, but their presence will forever linger in the depths of my psyche. And so, I share my story as a warning to those who traverse the long, lonely highways of the night. Beware the darkness that resides there, for it holds secrets that can never be unseen. Let my experience be a cautionary tale, a testament to the terrifying reality that sometimes, the scariest things are the ones we cannot explain. To this day, I carry the weight of that experience, forever changed by the encounters with the haunting apparitions. I now live a quieter life, far from the endless roads and the specters that haunt them. But still, there are nights when I hear their whispers in the wind, their anguished cries echoing through my thoughts. I may have escaped their clutches, but the scars remain, etched deep within my soul. I can only hope that those who hear my story will heed the warning and tread carefully on those lonesome highways. For there are realms beyond our understanding, and sometimes, it's better to let the mysteries of the night remain in the shadows. And with that, I retire from the road, forever haunted by the memories of that fateful journey. May you, dear reader, never encounter the horrors that lurk in the darkness, and may your journeys be free from the touch of the otherworldly. As a trucker, I've driven through some desolate and eerie areas during my long hauls, but nothing could have prepared me for the horrors I would encounter on that fateful night. It started like any other drive, a dark, winding road cutting through a desolate landscape. But soon, I would come face to face with a nightmare I could never have imagined. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the barren land. The silence was deafening, broken only by the rumbling of my engine and the occasional gust of wind. It was in this stillness that I first spotted the abandoned vehicle, a chilling sight that sent shivers down my spine. Skid marks marred the road, leading to the lifeless vehicle. Its windows were shattered, and bloodstains marred its exterior. Signs of a struggle were etched across the scene, a haunting reminder of the violence that had unfolded in this desolate place. Curiosity mingled with unease as I stepped out of my truck to investigate. My heart pounded in my chest, the weight of the night closing in on me. But as I approached the abandoned vehicle, a chilling breeze whispered through the air, carrying with it an indescribable sense of dread. Inside the vehicle, I found belongings scattered, as if its occupants had been forcibly removed. The bloodstains were fresh, a grim reminder that I might not be alone on this desolate road. Panic surged through my veins, urging me to flee, but a morbid curiosity compelled me to uncover the truth. As I turned to leave, a low growl echoed through the darkness. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, and a sense of impending doom settled upon me. I hurried back to my truck, my mind racing with thoughts of escape. I slammed the door shut, the safety of the truck's metal shell providing a fleeting sense of security. But the growl persisted, growing louder and more menacing. It was then that I caught a glimpse of gleaming eyes in the rearview mirror, eyes filled with hunger and primal instinct. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized I was being hunted by something relentless and terrifying. The predator was closing in, its intentions clear. It wanted to claim me as its next victim. Fear gripped me, but I knew I had to stay inside the truck. Venturing out into the darkness would be certain death. As the predator prowled around my truck, its heavy footsteps reverberating through the night, I searched desperately for a way to defend myself. My hands trembled as I grabbed a tire iron from the passenger seat, clutching it tightly like a lifeline. It was a feeble weapon against an unknown threat, but it was all I had. The predator circled, taunting me with its presence. I could feel its hot breath against the windows, its growls growing more ferocious with each passing moment. I braced myself, ready to fight for my life if it came to that. But just as I thought all hope was lost, a ray of light pierced through the darkness. Headlights appeared in the distance, their beams illuminating the road ahead. Salvation was at hand, a fellow trucker coming to my rescue. As the headlights approached, the predator retreated into the shadows, vanishing as if it had never been there. Relief flooded over me, but the lingering fear remained, a constant reminder of the horrors I had faced on that desolate road. The fellow trucker pulled over, concern etched across their face. I quickly explained the ordeal I had endured, my words tumbling out in a jumble of fear and adrenaline. They nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Together, we contacted the authorities and reported the abandoned vehicle and the bloodstained scene. But even as we waited for help to arrive, a sense of unease lingered in the air. The predator had vanished, but I knew it would haunt my nightmares for years to come. From that night onward, I never traveled those desolate roads alone. The encounter had changed me, leaving me with a deep respect for the dangers that lurk in the darkness. The predator may have retreated, but its presence lingered, a constant reminder that even in the safety of a truck, the world can be a terrifying place.